Good morning. So it's the morning of December 7th, and I'm going to start a little something different. So I've started the carnivore diet recently, and I've tried this in the past, and there's some different things that are working much better for me now. So I'm going to describe kind of my current health issues, why the carnivore diet, and some other things, and maybe it'll help some other type 1 diabetics, some other people without type 1 diabetes may be experiencing some other health issues and they're interested in the carnivore diet. So I'm going to go down this list, short list, and just talk a little bit about my experience with it. Maybe while I'm talking, I'll explore some of the other channels on YouTube that talk about the carnivore diet. So let me just start with number one, just what works. So online especially, less so in my real life, but online especially, I see there's lots of us versus them type of behavior. So vegans versus carnivore versus keto versus DASH diet versus Mediterranean. Just there's so many different options. And I, for one, am not. I don't tend to be one of these people with kind of tribal type thinking, where it's like a big group and it's us and we need to recruit people and that kind of thing. I'm more of the mind that there's a whole bunch of different paths for people. There's a whole bunch of different types of people, types of genetic predispositions. I just know for myself, a lot of what works for me does not work for my wife. A lot of what works for me might not necessarily be healthy for my kids to try. So I just want to preface this whole series, and hopefully I'm going to keep following it as I go for years so that other people can see what it's doing for my current health issues. But I just want to preface all of it with I'm not against other diets. If it works for someone, then that's the most important part. And what do I say is working for someone? You feel good, your biomarkers, whatever you choose to follow in terms of blood work and that kind of thing, are looking good. You're happy, you're healthy, mentally, physically, all those things. So, if you're vegan and that's the way you feel good and want to live, that's great. If you're Mediterranean diet and that's what you love, awesome. Also, if you're carnivore, that's what works for me. And I've tried pretty much everything. So, whatever works. So, just hear that. I'm not judging anybody else's diet. If you want to judge my diet, that's fine. But this is what works for me. So, number two, obviously, I have to say, this is not medical advice. These are only my experiences. So, I'm not telling anyone what to do, what should work for them. I'm not qualified to do that. I would never even tell another type 1 diabetic what they should do for their blood sugar because even within that small population, all type 1 diabetics know after even a little bit of experience, each type 1 diabetic is different. So some people can get away with doing certain things and others can't, even though you have the same disease. It even changes day to day, week to week, year to year in terms of what you can do as a type 1 diabetic. So all these issues are way more nuanced and subtle than people want to agree on, but there's a lot of differences between each person. So, again, my experience is not medical advice. So, my current health, I've been type 1 diabetic since I was 17 years old. I'm 50 now, so you can do the math on that one. I would say that for the vast majority, I have struggled with diabetes because of just the mainstream thinking about counting carbs and matching insulin with carbohydrates and the food pyramid and a lot of the things that you already see on other channels But when you're type 1 diabetic, you get even more indoctrinated into what was it's coming around now a little bit. Doctors are getting better, but you get indoctrinated into this what's a healthy diet? And a healthy diet for a type 1 diabetic does not involve for me, does not involve carb counting, eating carbs. It is virtually impossible to get that correct. There's a whole bunch of different reasons that will bore you to death, but it changes your hormone levels. It changes the signaling for your hunger, which makes you extremely hungry when you're taking more insulin to match more carbs. And it's like a death spiral where you just cannot satisfy your hunger. There's so many issues with it. So when I was younger, I did bodybuilding, I did powerlifting, I was extremely athletic, I was training for biathlons, and I did use carbs. And my blood sugar during that time was all over the place. Sometimes it was a little bit better because I was kind of in a honeymoon period, but once that ended, me just trying to match, let's just say an anabolic diet, which uses lots of carbs, you're not interested in, it's not about health, it's about building muscle and athletic performance. And for that, I do believe that you need carbs if you're talking about peak performance and building biggest muscles you can have. It's not that's not about health. That's about performance and being anabolic and growing muscle. That was a good lesson for me because although I was young and your body can take a lot more, it teaches you that it is a never-ending cycle of failure to try to match carbs in that kind of diet with insulin as a diabetic, especially with your hormone levels going all over the place. So there's a bunch of different reasons why I didn't go carnivore, and I have tried carnivore before, and I'll get into that. But so my current health, based on all that, all those years of trying to do what I and most other people thought was the right thing, has damaged a lot of things. So I'm basically disabled, not to the point of being in a wheelchair or anything yet, but I have massive pain from neuropathy in my feet and my lower legs. I almost lost a leg from a blood clot a few years ago, which still causes me pain. I have retinopathy in my eyes, which is pretty bad, and that's progressive unless you do something to change it, which is part of the reason I'm being very aggressive on the carnivore diet. Lots of kind of generalized skin issues like dry skin and skin tags and that kind of thing that should not be there. I mean, that's not generally what I have. And just general inflammation and fatigue and just all the things that go along with high blood sugar, unstable blood sugar, which is going up and down. So even if you have like lows and highs, your A1C can be in the middle, but you're experiencing big swings, which is not healthy for you. So I'm in lots of pain almost all the time. I'm self-employed. I'm also doing the YouTube channel to try and basically have conditions where I can work and not be in pain and not be able to do a traditional job because I'm pretty much retired from working outside unless my health changes. But yeah, so lots of different things going on, lots of pain. I still work out. I still, you can see my other channel or my other videos on the channel. I work out through the pain because I have to keep things going. So the carnivore diet is definitely something that I not only want to do, but I have to do. There is no choice. It's not like I can go back to this other lifestyle and it's going to work for me. It will not work. I know that for a fact. And again, this is for me. Everybody has to make their own decision. So what's different this time? So I mentioned that I had tried carnivore before, and for me, the actual diet itself, it was more of a keto rather than a carnivore. because I did have like cheeses and other things in a higher proportion. So I think that was hurting me a little bit. But the main thing is I started Tresiba, which is a very long acting insulin, and it has very little peak, which means it doesn't spike up and then bring your blood sugar down. It's very flat. And when you're doing a carnivore diet, obviously you're almost zero carb. If you have any peaks in insulin that you can't totally account for, it can plummet your blood sugar very easily, especially if you're exercising or going through different parts of your day. And I was experiencing that. I took Lantus insulin, which is again a long-term insulin. That was absolutely horrible for me. It had peaks to it. It would cause me to have random low blood sugars. And the really difficult thing about carnivore for a type 1 diabetic is you get, I mean, no matter what you do, eventually you're going to have a hypoglycemic event, low blood sugar. And in order to correct that, if it's severe enough, you're going to have to eat a significant amount of glucose. Sometimes it's just a tiny bit, and it's not going to really affect you being in ketosis or how carnivore affects your diet. But just a couple days ago, I had an unexplained hypoglycemia like early in the morning, and I caught it, but it wasn't responding the way I needed it to. And it's either risk passing out or eat more sugar than you might need to. So I ate more sugar. So it's taken me 3 days to finally get my blood sugar back to a point where it's kind of leveling again and responding to the carnivore diet the way it should, because I flooded my system with all this sugar. And again, I don't regret doing it because I'd much rather not pass out and just deal with the after effects later. Just work out and reduce your glycogen, that kind of thing. But that's the difficult thing about doing carnivore as a type 1 diabetic is it's not always your choice whether you have sugar or not. And sometimes you just have to eat sugar, and then you're going to have to deal with the consequences. So with this new insulin, this Tresiba insulin, I find that happens much, much less. It's the exception and not the rule. So I can go days and days and days, and my blood sugar is very flat. It's like a flat line. Even after I eat like a huge hamburger with like 3 eggs and a little bit of butter, my blood sugar might raise maybe 5 points or maybe just stay flat. And I'm not getting those peaks, those big responses down or up. So that is a huge difference this time. I've never really cared. I can eat the same food over and over again. So for me, variety is not that big a deal. And the hormonal changes that happen once you get through that kind of first few days to a week, your cravings and your desire for certain foods totally change. Insulin is a major signaler for hunger. So once you have low insulin levels, you start to not desire such sweet foods anymore. So it really isn't that much of an issue, at least for me. The differences in my insulin dosage are huge. I would say about 80% different on all my different insulin, maybe more for the short term. It's probably 90 to 95% difference. There are times when I'm taking like just for a correction of a little bit of high blood sugar, like 1 to 2 units of insulin, which is nothing. I mean, I could take 8 units of insulin like it was nothing before. So huge differences in insulin. Another That's another advantage of being type 1 diabetic in terms of you can really see very literally what the difference in having a carnivore diet versus a traditional American diet is in terms of your real-time blood sugar and the amount of insulin you're taking. You know exactly what the difference is, and it's huge. I don't think that's something you can argue with. You can argue with a lot of different things, but as a type 1 diabetic, not taking as much insulin and not having blood sugar spikes is what you're looking for. So for me, there is no other diet that has done that for me. I've been vegetarian at points. I've tried Mediterranean diet. I've tried a mix. Ketosis and or carnivore is the only diet that keeps my blood sugar that stable, period, for me. Let's see, number six, I actually already touched on, which is the hypoglycemia and the recovery issue. I actually watched another YouTube channel. I think his name is Ferrigno, like Lou Ferrigno, the bodybuilder. And he talked about cheating at Thanksgiving and how many days it took him to get back on track. And that's what I was trying to kind of explain is, yeah, as a type 1 diabetic, you don't even choose when that happens. So if you get hypoglycemia and you have to eat sugar, you already know it's going to take a lot of work to get back to where you were in terms of the stability of the blood sugar. So that for me, I think for any type 1 diabetic, you're just going to have to deal with that. It's probably the hardest thing. I don't struggle with mental discipline because, as Michaela Peterson says, the downsides of eating carbs and all those things that do taste good, like you can see the name of the YouTube channel is Steamed White Rice because I thought it was kind of funny, but I love steamed white rice. I love sushi. There's all kinds of food I like, but the downsides of eating those far outweigh the taste. And I've learned that over the years that it's just not worth it. So let me go. I was going to show just a couple. So if just searching carnivore diet on YouTube, there's a ton of information out there. Lots of good stuff. Again, I stay away from all the things that are us versus them type of videos. I really don't enjoy, vegans bashing carnivore, carnivore bashing vegan. I really just don't care. If someone does something that they enjoy, it's really none of my business. So this works for me, and that's what I choose to do. If someone else likes something different, it's all good. So, but there's lots of good information out there. Ken Berry is someone that has a lot of good videos. Yeah, there's just a lot of other good videos, other good information if you want to do it. One of the reasons that I'm doing this is because I think there aren't a lot of type 1 diabetics out there, at least that I see, putting out either real-time information or just kind of like video journaling what it's like to go carnivore. So hopefully this helps other type 1 diabetics, and hopefully it can be useful for people who are not type 1 diabetic who just want to see a different perspective in terms of, wow, look how few units of insulin he has to take. Look at the effect on his blood sugar, my blood sugar, if I do something wrong, will skyrocket. One thing I figured out years and years ago is that at least I call myself a hyper responder. So to almost anything I do, whether it be like weightlifting, so any type of workout, or changes in my diet, my insulin levels, whatever it might be, for some reason, my body is like a hyper responder. I have big results, big changes based on the little things that I do. So once I figured out, like, okay, I'm kind of like a hyper responder type of person, then I need to be very careful about what I choose to do because I'm going to experience the result of whatever that is. So that's another reason I like this diet because it's very even keel. There's no huge things to deal with. I pretty much eat the same thing every time. So my diet basically is, and I should have put this down here on number 7, but my diet is basically beef, salt, and eggs. Every now and then I'll use cheese if I have to raise my blood sugar a little bit more than normal, because cheese will raise it just a little bit more than beef or anything will. That basically is like a flat line. So that's what it is. It's cutting out everything. in the future, maybe 6 months to a year from now, I will actually probably try to add little things like maybe put some cheese on top of the beef and eggs, or just very tiny changes to see how my body reacts. But at this point, the results I'm getting are great. I've been in range, except for the hypoglycemia and having to get over that and then get my body back. I have been in range almost 100% of the time. So that's between 80 to 180, and I actually try to keep it between 80 and 150. Whereas before, I was all over the place. I could be hypoglycemic and then over 300 all the time, just because trying to do carbs and matching that with insulin is a losing battle. So, all right, I think I've gone on long enough. Hopefully, I didn't bore you. I'm going to keep this up, and I will keep the videos shorter and just do more updates. But I don't think I missed anything. And if you have any questions, type 1 diabetic or not, feel free to ask, and I'll try to answer as best I can, just again, based on my experience. And then you can apply it with your doctor or just on your own to whatever choices that you make. But so carnivore, gonna keep journaling, gonna keep telling you what I'm eating, how it's affecting my blood sugar, what good things are going on and what bad things are going on in terms of the hurdles that I'm going through. So I appreciate you watching. If you want to keep watching, a like and a subscribe would help. Like I said, YouTube is part of the things that I'm trying to get going to earn some money, since being disabled and getting a job that I previously would have done is not in the cards at the moment. So just trying to do whatever I can to help myself, help others, and fix some things and heal my body. So have a great day.